I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. I just slammed my foot on the gas. In front of me was a madman with a detonator. Behind me were the two men I loved more than life itself. Most women get flowers from their husbands. I got a war. And I was about to finish it. My name is Sonia Davis, and this is how I became the queen of the soul underworld. Welcome back to Afro-Korean Soul Tales, the home where cultures collide and hearts are set on fire. Today we are diving deep into a story of betrayal, power, and a romance so forbidden it breaks every rule in the book. This is the story of Sonia, Jaehyun, and Taehyun. Before we rewind to the start, besties, make sure you hit that like button and smash subscribe. It is the only way to support the channel. Now, let's go back to where it all began. Lagos, Nigeria. The silence inside the armored Mercedes Maybach was heavier than the humid air she had left behind in Lagos. Sonia Davis sat rigid in the back seat, her hands clenched so tightly in her lap that her knuckles had turned the color of bleached bone. Through the tinted bulletproof glass, the neon veins of Seoul pulsed in the twilight. A city of future promises, alien and intimidating. Just 24 hours ago, the smell of diesel and frying plantains had filled her nose as she helped her father organize circuit boards in his small repair shop in Ikeja. Now the air smelled of conditioned leather and expensive sterile luxury. She wasn't a tourist. She wasn't a guest. She was a transaction. Every mile that passed felt like a physical weight pressing down on her chest. The road stretched out like a snake, winding away from the familiar chaos of her life into this sleek, terrifying unknown. She closed her eyes, trying to summon the noise of the generator back home, the shouting of the street hawkers, the Afrobeat blasting from the neighbor's speakers, anything to drown out the oppressive quiet of the luxury car. But all she could hear was the memory of her uncle's voice, grim and defeated, playing on a loop in her mind like a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. Your father made a mistake, Sonia. A 20 million naira mistake. He borrowed from men who do not accept apologies. The Han family has agreed to wipe the slate clean. But the price is you. You will marry them. The plural pronoun had nearly stopped her heart in her chest. Them. Not him. Them. At 22, Sonia's romantic experience was limited to the sweet, shy courtships she saw in Nollywood dramas or the epic, sweeping love stories of the K-dramas she binge-watched on weekends. She had dreamed of a love that was simple, singular, a heartbeat that matched her own. She had never, in her wildest fever dreams, imagined being the peace offering to a two-headed dragon. She tried to picture them, these men who had bought her life with a signature. Were they old, cruel, scarred monsters hiding in a tower? The fear was a cold stone in her stomach, heavy and sharp. The car slowed, turning off the bustling highway and winding up a private road that cut through a dense, manicured forest. The trees here were different, orderly, disciplined, not like the wild growth of home. The iron gates that loomed ahead were monstrous, decorated with intricate steel dragons that seemed to sneer down at her. As they swung open, the estate revealed itself. It wasn't a house. It was a fortress of glass, steel, and black stone, jutting out of the mountainside like a shard of obsidian. It was beautiful architectural perfection, and it was absolutely terrifying. The sheer scale of it made her feel small, insignificant, like an ant crawling toward a monolith. The car came to a smooth halt in the circular driveway. The driver opened her door, but Sonia couldn't move. Her legs felt like lead. Breathe, she commanded herself. You are a Davis. You do not cower. You survive. She stepped out into the cool evening air, the wind biting at her skin, a stark contrast to the tropical heat she was used to. Standing at the massive double doors were two men. Sonia's breath hitched, a physical reaction she couldn't suppress. They were identical, and they were devastating. They had to be in their late 20s, standing well over 6 feet, with broad shoulders that tapered into tailored suits costing more than her father's entire shop. Their hair was ink black, styled with precision, framing faces that could have been carved from marble. High cheekbones, sharp jawlines, lips that looked both cruel and inviting. But as she looked closer, the illusion of sameness shattered. The brother on the left stepped forward. His movement was fluid, easy like a cat stretching in the sun. A smile broke across his face, bright, disarming like the sun breaking through storm clouds. It reached his eyes, crinkling the corners with a warmth that felt deceptively safe. Honey, you must be Sonia, he said. His voice was rich, a deep baritone wrapped in velvet, carrying a hint of amusement. I'm Jaehyun. Welcome home. Home. The word tasted like ash. How could he use that word so casually? Home was safety. Home was love. This was a prison disguised as a palace. The brother on the right did not move. He did not smile. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his posture rigid, military grade. His eyes were dark, endless pools that didn't just look at her. They dismantled her. He was scanning for weakness, assessing her value, calculating the risk she posed. When he finally spoke, the temperature in the driveway seemed to drop 10 degrees. I am Taehyun. Come inside. It wasn't an invitation. It was a decree. A command issued by a general to a subordinate. Sonia swallowed her fear, lifting her chin. She would not let them see her tremble. She followed them through the massive doors. The foyer was a cavern of white marble and crystal. A chandelier dripping with diamonds hung from a ceiling so high it made her dizzy. The silence here was different. It was the silence of immense power, of air conditioned to perfection, of walls that held secrets. I imagine you are terrified, Jaehyun said, guiding her toward a living area that looked like a showroom for a minimalist architect. Please sit. This is a lot to process. Sonia remained standing. The adrenaline was wearing off, replaced by a cold, sharp anger. A lot to process? Her voice trembled, but it was loud, echoing off the marble walls. I was bartered like a goat in the market. I was put on a plane and told I have to marry 2 strangers to keep my father from being executed. Terrified doesn't begin to cover it. Furious comes closer. She glared at them, her hands balling into fists. You think because you have money you can buy a person? You think this is a game? Jaehyun's eyebrows shot up, impressed. A flicker of something like respect passed through his eyes. But Taehyun merely walked to a leather armchair and sat, crossing one leg over the other with lethal grace. He looked bored, or perhaps just completely unbothered by her outburst. You were not bartered, Taehyun said, his voice flat, devoid of emotion. Your father stole from our operations. He gambled with money that belonged to the Han Syndicate. The penalty for theft is death. The penalty for insulting us is death. We offered a mercy clause. Marriage to us secures an alliance, saves his life, and clears the debt. So I am the receipt, Sonia shot back, tears stinging her eyes. I am the proof of payment. A human invoice. You are the solution, Taehyun corrected, unbothered by her emotion. A strategic necessity. And perhaps, Jaehyun interjected, stepping closer, his voice dropping to a soothing murmur. An opportunity. He looked at her with a strange intensity. An opportunity to live a life you never dreamed of. Sonia laughed, a brittle, harsh sound that scraped her throat. An opportunity? For whom? For 2 rich gangsters who think they can buy a human being to play house with? Do you collect women like you collect cars? For all of us, Jaehyun said softly. I know you didn't choose this, Sonia. I know this feels like a prison. But look around you. We can give you the world. We can build a life that is real. We are not asking you to be a prisoner. We are asking you to be a partner. A partner shared between brothers? Sonia shook her head, backing away until her back hit a cold marble pillar. That is sick. That is unnatural. You cannot just share a wife like she is a timeshare property. Do you share your toothbrushes too? Your clothes. We do not see you as property, Jaehyun insisted, his voice gentle but firm. We see you as ours. Both of ours. Equally. Taehyun's voice cut through the air like a blade. Our father raised us to share the burden of this empire. We share every decision, every asset, every danger. We have never competed. We have never divided what belongs to the family. He stood up then, walking toward her slowly. We are 2 halves of the same whole. And you are the piece that binds us. I am not an asset, Sonia whispered, her voice shaking. I am a person with a soul. No, Taehyun agreed, his dark eyes locking onto hers, trapping her. You are our wife, which means you belong to both of us completely. There is no choosing, Sonia. There is no favorite. There is no division. You are ours and we are yours. That is the arrangement. That is the law in this house. Sonia felt the room spinning. The finality in his tone left no room for argument. The walls seemed to be closing in. I need to be alone. I cannot do this right now. Please. Of course, Jaehyun said immediately, stepping back to give her space. I will show you to your suite. You can rest. Shower. We will have dinner at 8. No pressure. Just food and conversation. We will not push you tonight. He led her up a staircase that seemed to float on air, made of glass and light. Her room was a sanctuary, a sprawling suite with a king-sized bed, a private balcony overlooking the glittering city, and a walk-in closet already stocked with clothes that looked exactly her size. They had been preparing for her. They had researched her size, her style. It was thoughtful and it was creepy. "I know you think we are monsters," Jaehyun said from the doorway, his voice devoid of the earlier charm, replaced by a sincere solemnity. "But I promise you, Sonia Davis, we will never hurt you. You are safe here. In time, I hope you will see that this cage." The door is actually unlocked. He closed the door gently. Sonia collapsed onto the silk duvet and finally violently wept. She cried for her father, who had sold her. She cried for her mother, who was gone. She cried for the life she had lost, the simple dreams of a small shop and a kind husband. Now she was trapped in a golden cage with 2 dragons. Dinner was a surreal exercise in tension. The table was long enough to seat 20, a slab of polished mahogany that reflected the candlelight. But the 3 of them were clustered at one end, an intimate setting in a vast, lonely room. The food was an array of Korean delicacies Sonia didn't recognize. Pickled vegetables, grilled meats, steaming bowls of soup, prepared by invisible hands. Jaehyun sat on her left. He was the diplomat. He asked about Lagos, about the humidity, about her favorite street food. He asked about the noise, the traffic, the people. He charmed her, making her smile despite the misery clawing at her throat. He was like the sun, warm, blinding, impossible to ignore. He told jokes, little anecdotes about his childhood that made him seem human, approachable. Taehyun sat on her right. He was the shadow. He barely spoke. He ate with precise, economic movements, treating food as fuel rather than pleasure. But every time Sonia looked up, she found his eyes on her. Not leering. Studying. Like he was memorizing the way she held her fork, the way she tucked a loose braid behind her ear, the way she breathed. It was unnerving. It felt like being under a microscope. "You are staring," Sonia finally snapped, her nerves fraying. She couldn't take the silence from him anymore. "You are beautiful," Taehyun replied. It wasn't a compliment. It was a statement of fact, delivered with zero emotion. "I am appreciating what is mine." Heat flushed through her body. Anger and something else, something dangerous. "I am not a possession." "Stop saying that." "No, you are a wife. Is there a difference?" He asked it genuinely, as if the concept of a wife being anything other than a possession was foreign to him. "Yes." Sonia slammed her hand on the table, rattling the silverware. "A possession is something you use and discard. A wife is someone you love, someone you protect, someone you build a life with, someone who has a say in her own life." "We intend to do all of those things," Jaehyun interjected smoothly, placing a hand over hers. His palm was warm, dry. "We have time, Sonia. We have the rest of our lives to figure out the definitions. But know this, we do not discard what belongs to the Han family. We protect it with our lives." When dinner concluded, Taehyun stood up, buttoning his jacket. "It is late. Come to bed." Sonia's stomach dropped to her shoes. "Excuse me. You are exhausted. You should sleep. I have my own room." Jaehyun showed me. "It has a bed. A very nice bed." "That is your dressing room," Taehyun corrected. "You are our wife. You sleep with us in our bed. That is not negotiable." Panic, cold and sharp, seized her throat. "I am not ready for. I barely know you. We are not going to touch you," Jaehyun said quickly, standing up to block her retreat, his hands raised in surrender. "Not like that. Not until you are ready. We are not animals, Sonia. We do not take what is not freely given. We are not rapists. But we do sleep together," Taehyun added, his voice brooking no argument. "The 3 of us. It is how this marriage works. You need to get used to our presence. You need to get used to our scent, our heat. You will sleep in our bed. It is safer there." He held out his hand. It was a challenge. A command. Promise. Sonia looked from the warm, pleading eyes of Jaehyun to the dark, unyielding gaze of Taehyun. She realized she had no real choice. This was their kingdom. She was just living in it. Refusal would only make things harder. She had to play the game until she learned the rules. She took Taehyun's hand. His grip was firm, calloused. The master bedroom was a cavern of masculinity. Dark woods, gray silks, and the faint scent of sandalwood and rain. The bed was custom-made, massive enough to sleep 4 people comfortably. It dominated the room, a throne for their triad. The bathroom is through there, Jaehyun gestured. You will find pajamas. Silk. Cotton. Whatever you prefer. Sonia changed in the bathroom, her hands shaking so hard she could barely button the silk shirt. She looked at herself in the mirror. Same face, same eyes, but everything else was different. She was a wife now. A wife to 2 mob bosses. She splashed cold water on her face and stepped out. When she emerged, the lights were dimmed. Both men were already in bed. They were shirtless. Sonia faltered. Their chests were broad, sculpted by years of martial arts and discipline. Scars crisscrossed their skin. Faint white lines that spoke of violence and survival. They were undeniably magnificent specimens of men. And they were both watching her. Come here, Jaehyun said, patting the space between them. The middle is yours. Sonia climbed in, her body as rigid as a board. She lay on her back, staring at the ceiling, praying for sleep to take her. The sheets were cool against her skin, but the heat radiating from the men on either side of her was intense. Jaehyun shifted on her left. His arm draped over her waist, pulling her gently but firmly against his side. Relax, he whispered against her ear. I have you. You are safe. On her right, Taehyun didn't say a word, but his hand found her hip. Heavy, possessive, grounding, sandwiched between the fire of the sun and the cool gravity of the moon. Sonia expected to lie awake all night in terror, but the warmth was intoxicating. The sense of protection was absolute. It was as if their bodies formed a shield around her, keeping the rest of the world at bay. Impossibly, within minutes, she fell into a deep dreamless sleep. Morning arrived with the golden light of Seoul filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows. Sonia woke up to the feeling of a warm nose nuzzling the back of her neck. Jaehyun, she mumbled, half asleep, her mind still foggy. He hummed, his arm tightening around her waist. Don't move yet. It's too early. She realized Taehyun was gone. The right side of the bed was cool. She tried to wiggle free, but Jaehyun was like an octopus, limbs heavy and relaxed. Where are you going? He murmured, his voice rough with sleep, intimate and dangerously sexy. I need the bathroom. Okay. He released her reluctantly. Hurry back. I get lonely. When Sonia returned, Jaehyun was sitting up, the sheet pooling at his waist. He grinned, a boyish sleepy smile that made him look 5 years younger. Good morning, Mrs. Han. Don't call me that. Why? It is your name. He patted the mattress. Come sit. Talk to me. About what? About anything. Tell me about the repair shop. Tell me about your favorite book. Tell me what makes you cry. I want to know you, Sonia. Not the transaction, but the woman. She sat on the edge of the bed, maintaining a safe distance. Why do you care? I am just a debt payment. Because you are my wife, he said simply. Because this is my life now and yours. We can be miserable, hating each other in silence, or we can make this good. You are surprisingly optimistic for a mafia boss. Jaehyun laughed. I prefer legitimate businessmen with diverse interests. And I prefer to see the beauty in things. Like you. He shifted closer, his eyes dropping to her lips. Can I kiss you? The question startled her. What? Can I kiss you? I want to. Very badly. But I won't if you say no. Sonia looked at him. He was offering her agency in a situation where she had none. He was waiting, not taking. I guess. Jaehyun cupped her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. You are a gem, Sonia. He kissed her. It wasn't hungry or aggressive. It was soft, questioning, sweet. Tasted like mint and promise. When he pulled back, he looked dazed. That wasn't so terrible, was it? No, Sonia admitted, her cheeks heating up. It wasn't terrible. Good. Because I plan to do it 1,000,000 more times. Over the next 2 weeks, a strange seductive rhythm took over Sonia's life. Mornings belonged to Jaehyun. He was the whirlwind. He dragged her out of the mansion to explore Seoul. They ate spicy tteokbokki from street vendors in Myeongdong, burning their tongues and laughing until their sides ached. They locked a padlock with her initials on the fence at Namsan Tower, throwing the key into the forest below. They shopped until her feet ached in Gangnam, Jaehyun refusing to let her carry a single bag. He showered her with gifts, diamonds, bags, shoes, but it was his laughter that was the real gift. He made her forget, for hours at a time, that she was a hostage. You don't have to buy my affection, Jaehyun. She told him one afternoon as he bought her a ridiculous giant teddy bear that barely fit in the car. I am not buying affection. I am spoiling my wife, because seeing you smile is the highlight of my day. Your smile is the only sun I need. And God help her, she was starting to like him. He was infectious. Evenings belonged to Taehyun. He was the anchor. He didn't do grand gestures. Instead, he would come home, loosen his tie, and disappear into the kitchen. The first time he presented her with a bowl of jollof rice, Sonia stared at it in shock. It smells right, she whispered, sniffing the steam rising from the bowl. The scent of thyme and curry powder, a combination she hadn't smelled in weeks, hit her with a wave of nostalgia so strong it made her knees weak. I had the chef import the spices from Lagos, Taehyun said, leaning against the counter watching her. He had rolled up his sleeves, revealing forearms corded with muscle. I followed a recipe from a Nigerian YouTuber. Tell me if it is wrong. She took a bite. It wasn't perfect, it was a little too mild, but the effort made her throat tight. This man, this killer, had spent hours trying to recreate a taste of her home. He had chopped onions, measured spices, stood over a hot stove just to give her a moment of comfort. It's good. Thank you, Taehyun. He nodded once. Good. He didn't talk much, but he would sit with her in the media room, watching old Nollywood classics she requested. He would stand behind her chair at dinner, a silent sentinel. He was always there, a brooding presence that somehow felt less like a threat and more like a promise of safety. Why are you so quiet? She asked him one night as they sat on the terrace, the city lights twinkling below like diamonds on black velvet. I listen, he said. Jaehyun talks enough for both of us. I prefer to watch. And what do you see? He looked at her, his gaze intense enough to ignite paper. I see a woman who is stronger than she knows. I see a fighter who pretends to be broken but is actually just bending. And I see the only thing in this world I would burn cities to protect. It should have scared her. Instead, it made her feel cherished in a way she had never experienced. It made her feel valuable. 3 weeks in, the dam broke. Sonia was on the balcony, watching the rain lash against the glass. The homesickness hit her like a physical blow. She missed the chaos of Lagos. She missed her father despite his flaws. She missed the music, the food, the heat. She felt adrift in this cold, beautiful country. Sonia. It was Jaehyun. He stepped out into the rain, heedless of his silk shirt getting soaked. Hey, what is it? Why are you crying? I miss home, she sobbed, collapsing into his chest. I miss who I was before I was Mrs. Han. I don't know who I am here. I feel like a ghost in my own life. You are Sonia, he murmured, stroking her wet hair, holding her tight against him. You are the queen of this house. I know we forced this on you. I know it is unfair. But let me make it better. Let me love you enough to make this feel like home. She looked up at him, rain mingling with her tears. Jaehyun, I think I am falling for you. The words just fell out. But they were true. He was the light in this dark castle. He was the joy she had desperately needed. Show me, he whispered. Let me make you mine. Really mine. He didn't just mean a kiss. He meant everything. And for the first time Sonia wanted it. She wanted to be held, to be claimed, to be part of something. Yes. He picked her up effortlessly and carried her inside. Taehyun was there, standing by the bed, as if he had sensed the shift in the atmosphere. She is ready, Jaehyun said to his brother. Taehyun's eyes flared with a dark hunger. Are you Sonia? Yes, she breathed. I am yours. Both of yours. What followed was a revelation. Jaehyun was the melody, gentle, coaxing, worshipping her body with soft touches and sweet whispers. He made her feel beautiful, guiding her through the nervousness until she was gasping his name. He was slow, deliberate, making sure every touch was a question she answered with a sigh. Then Taehyun took over. He was the bassline, deep, driving, overwhelming. He didn't ask, he took. He was possessive, his hands gripping her hips, his mouth devouring hers with an intensity that bordered on violence but stayed firmly in the realm of passion. Mine, he growled against her neck. Say it. I'm yours, she cried out. Taehyun, I'm yours. That night, tangled in sheets and limbs, Sonia realized the terrifying truth. She loved Jaehyun for his light. She loved Taehyun for his darkness. And she didn't want to choose. She needed the balance. The honeymoon period lasted 3 months. They were a triad, a perfect triangle of balance. But guilt is a slow poison. Sonia began to withdraw. She worried that loving Jaehyun's humor meant she was neglecting Taehyun. She worried that responding to Taehyun's intensity made Jaehyun feel inadequate. She felt like she was cheating on both of them with each other. She started measuring her smiles, rationing her kisses, trying to be perfectly fair, which only made her perfectly miserable. She confessed to Mrs. Park, the elderly housekeeper who had become her confidant. "I love them differently," she whispered over tea. "Is that wrong? Does that mean I am broken?" Mrs. Park had chuckled, pouring more tea. "Love is not a factory product, child. It does not come in identical packages. You love the sun for warmth and the moon for guidance. Why should husbands be different?" But the advice didn't stop the guilt. It all exploded in the library. Taehyun found her staring blankly at a book, tears sliding down her face. "Stop it," he commanded, closing the door with a definitive click. "Stop what?" "Stop thinking so loud. It is deafening." He knelt before her, prying her hands from the book. "Talk to me, Sonia. What is wrong?" "I can't do this," she confessed, her voice cracking. "I love you both, but it feels different. When I am with Jaehyun, I feel light. When I am with you, I feel consumed. It is not equal. It is not the same. I am failing you both. Failing." Jaehyun walked in, having heard the commotion. He looked devastated. "Sonia, is that what you think? I don't love you the same way," she cried out. "Is that wrong?" "No," Taehyun said firmly, gripping her chin. "We are different men. Why would you love us the same? Do you love Jaehyun less than me?" Taehyun asked. "No." "Do you love me less than him?" "No. Never." "Then the equation is balanced," Jaehyun said, kneeling beside his brother so they were both at her level. "Sonia, I bring you joy. That is my role. Taehyun brings you fire. That is his role. You need both. The sun and the moon are not the same, but the sky needs both to be complete. Love isn't a pie," Taehyun added, wiping a tear from her cheek with his thumb. "You don't run out of it. It expands." Sonia looked at them, her sun and her moon. "You really don't mind?" "We prefer it," Jaehyun smiled. "It means we both get the best version of you." The relief was physical. Sonia hugged them both, burying her face in the space between their shoulders. "I love you. I love you both so much it hurts." 6 months into the marriage, the outside world came crashing in. Started with a phone call. Taehyun took it during breakfast, his face turning to stone. He set the phone down gently, but the air in the room curdled. "Chairman Kong knows." Jaehyun froze, his coffee cup hovering halfway to his mouth. "How?" "A leak. He knows about Sonia. He knows she is the weakness." Chairman Kong was the head of a rival syndicate, ruthless, old school, and violent. He had been trying to dismantle the Han Empire for decades. He was a relic of a brutal past, a man who believed in scorching the earth. "We go into lockdown," Jaehyun said, his voice losing all its warmth. "Triple the guard. Sonia does not leave this house." For 2 weeks, the mansion became a bunker. Sonia felt the tension radiating off her husbands. They were sleeping less, training more, constantly whispering in corners. The playful outings stopped. The movie nights were replaced by strategy sessions she wasn't allowed to attend. Then came the night the lights went out. Sonia was in the library when the power cut. 1 second she was reading, the next she was in pitch darkness. Red emergency lights bathed the room in a bloody glow a moment later. Then the sound of glass shattering. Gunfire. Jaehyun burst into the room, a pistol in his hand. "Sonia! Move!" He grabbed her, sprinting toward the hidden panic room behind the bookcase. But they were too slow. 3 men in black tactical gear rappelled from the skylight, landing in the hallway. "Get behind me!" Jaehyun roared, raising his weapon. He fired. 2 men dropped. But the third was faster. A gunshot echoed loud as a cannon. Jaehyun stumbled back, clutching his shoulder. Blood, bright and horrifying, bloomed on his white shirt. "Jaehyun!" Sonia screamed, reaching for him. The attacker lunged, grabbing Sonia by the hair, yanking her back. "Drop the gun or I kill the bitch. Let her go." It was a roar from the other end of the hall. Taehyun. He didn't have a gun. He didn't need one. He moved like a demon, a blur of violence. He collided with the attacker, hearing the sickening crunch of bone. Taehyun didn't just disable him, he dismantled him. He broke the man's arm, then his leg, then slammed his head into the marble floor. Within seconds the man was unconscious or worse. Taehyun scrambled to Jaehyun's side. Jae, look at me. Jaehyun groaned, his face pale. Vest caught it. Broken rib maybe. I'm okay. Sonia fell to her knees beside them, her hands shaking as she pressed them against Jaehyun's chest. You're bleeding. I'm fine, baby. I'm fine. We are ending this, Taehyun said, his voice sounding like grinding gravel. Tonight. What do you mean? Sonia asked, terrified. Kong attacked our home. He shot my brother. He touched my wife. This ends now. The twins left an hour later with an army of men. Sonia begged to go, begged them to stay, but they refused. They left her with Mrs. Park and a dozen guards. 3 hours of silence followed. It was torture. Sonia paced the living room, staring at the phone. Every shadow looked like a gunman. Every creak of the house sounded like footsteps. Then Sonia's phone rang. An unknown number. Hello, Mrs. Han. A rasping voice. Chairman Kong. Where are they? Sonia demanded. Trapped. My men have them pinned down at the Incheon docks. Warehouse 4. They will be dead in 10 minutes. Unless what? Unless you come to me. Trade yourself for them. A life for a life. If I come, you let them go? You have my word. It was a lie. She knew it was a lie. But she couldn't risk it. She couldn't live in a world without Jaehyun's laugh or Taehyun's silence. Sonia slipped out the servant's entrance. She knew the codes. She knew the blind spots. Jaehyun had shown her once, jokingly. She drove like a maniac to the docks. Warehouse 4 was a cavernous, rusting beast. Sonia walked in, hands raised. Chairman Kong stood in the center, flanked by 10 armed men. Ah, the gem of Lagos, Kong sneered. You are even prettier than the pictures. Let them go, Sonia said, her voice steady despite her terror. My dear, I lied. Kong laughed, a wet, ugly sound. I'm going to kill them. And then I'm going to kill you while they watch. Really bad plan, Kong. The voice came from the rafters. Kong spun around. What? Jaehyun stepped out from the shadows on the left, arm in a sling but looking very much alive. Taehyun stepped out from the right. You. Kong stammered. You were pinned down. We controlled the narrative, Taehyun said, walking forward, his gun trained on Kong. We knew you would call her. We knew she would come. And we knew that was the only way to get you out of your bunker. You used me as bait? Sonia gasped. We knew you were safe, Jaehyun said softly, his eyes apologetic. We had snipers on you the moment you left the house. But we needed him to think he had one. Police. Sirens wailed outside. We aren't just killing you, Kong, Jaehyun smiled. We are erasing you legally. We handed every hard drive, every ledger to the prosecution. You are going to rot in prison. Kong raised his gun, desperation in his eyes. Taehyun shot his hand before he could pull the trigger. As the police swarmed in, Sonia stood frozen. The twins walked over to her. You used me, she whispered, slapping Taehyun's chest. Then she slapped Jaehyun's good shoulder. You idiots. I thought you were dying. We are sorry, Jaehyun said, pulling her into a hug with his good arm. But we had to protect the family. Family, Sonia repeated, burying her face in his shirt. Don't you ever scare me like that again. Promise, they said together. 2 years later. The garden was in full bloom. Sonia sat on a blanket, watching 2 toddlers waddle through the grass. Tae and June. Identical twins. Tae had Jaehyun's smile and Sonia's nose. June had Taehyun's serious eyes and Sonia's stubborn chin. They are going to destroy the hydrangeas, Jaehyun sighed, sitting down behind Sonia and wrapping his arms around her waist. Let them, Taehyun said, dropping down on her other side. Flowers grow back. You have gone soft, brother, Jaehyun teased. I have gone happy. There is a difference. Sonia leaned back against them, basking in the warmth. Do you ever regret it? She asked suddenly. Regret what? This. The way it started. I regret that you were scared, Taehyun said, kissing her temple. I regret that you didn't have a choice at first. But I do not regret where we ended up. The world thinks we are strange, Jaehyun noted. 2 men, 1 wife. It breaks the rules. To hell with the rules, Sonia smiled. I spent so long trying to divide my heart, trying to measure who I loved more. But love isn't math. It's magic. And speaking of magic, Sonia reached into her pocket and pulled out a small plastic stick. Two pink lines. Jaehyun froze. Taehyun stopped breathing. Again. Jaehyun whispered, his eyes widening. Again, Sonia laughed. We are going to need a bigger car. The joy that erupted in that garden was louder than any gunshot. Jaehyun hooped, picking up June and spinning him around. Taehyun pulled Sonia into a kiss that curled her toes, his hand resting reverently on her stomach. But peace is fragile in the world of the Han Syndicate. The pregnancy was easy. A girl this time. They named her Nari. But when Nari was 6 months old, the past clawed its way back. Min-soo, Chairman Kang's son, had returned from exile. And he didn't want territory. He wanted blood. The threat came in a letter delivered to the boys' preschool. A photo of Tae and June on the playground with a red X drawn over their faces. Sonia went cold. He is targeting the children. He is a dead man, Taehyun said, his voice void of humanity. I will peel the skin from his bones. We are going to the warehouse tonight, Jaehyun said, loading a magazine into his Glock. We end the Kong bloodline. I am coming, Sonia said. No, both men shouted. They are my children. Sonia screamed, grabbing a Kevlar vest from the safe. I am not sitting at home waiting for a phone call. I am a Davis and I am a Han. I fight for my family. The twins looked at each other. They saw the fire in her eyes, the fire they had put there. Stay in the car, Taehyun negotiated. Stay behind the armored glass. Things go wrong, you drive away. Deal. Deal. The warehouse confrontation was brutal. Min-soo was younger, faster, and desperate. He had surrounded himself with mercenaries. From the car, Sonia watched the feed on the laptop. She saw her husbands fighting back to back. A perfect symphony of violence. But there were too many of them. One mercenary flanked Taehyun, raising a shotgun. Taehyun! Right! Sonia screamed into the comms. Taehyun spun, firing blindly based on her command. The mercenary dropped. Thanks, baby, he grunted. Focus! She yelled. Min-soo stepped out holding a detonator. I'll blow us all to hell, he screamed. If I can't have Seoul, no one can. Jaehyun stepped forward, hands raised. Min-soo, look around. Your men are dead. It's over. It's never over. Min-soo's thumb hovered over the button. Sonia didn't think. She slammed the car into drive. The armored Mercedes roared forward, crashing through the warehouse doors. She aimed straight for Min-soo. He turned, eyes wide with shock. The car clipped him, sending him flying into a stack of crates. The detonator skittered across the floor. Taehyun put a bullet in Min-soo before he hit the ground. Silence fell over the warehouse. The twins ran to the car, ripping the door open. Sonia sat there gripping the steering wheel, shaking. Are you insane? Jaehyun yelled, dragging her out and checking her for injuries. You could have died. He was going to blow you up, Sonia yelled back. I saved your asses. Taehyun started laughing. It was a rusty foreign sound. He pulled them both into a crushing hug. My wife is a warrior. God help us all. 5 years later, the Han estate was unrecognizable. The cold, sterile glass mansion was now filled with toys, noise, and warmth. Sonia sat on the patio watching the chaos. Tae and June were 10 now, teaching 5-year-old Nari how to throw a punch. And in the playpen, the newest additions, twins again, a boy and a girl, Jae and Amara, were sleeping. 5 children. 2 husbands. One incredible life. Jaehyun walked out with a tray of lemonade. He had gray at his temples now, but his smile was as bright as ever. Taehyun followed with a platter of cut fruit. Peaceful, Jaehyun commented, sitting by Sonia's feet. Give it 5 minutes, Taehyun said, handing Sonia a slice of mango. Someone will cry. Let them cry, Sonia smiled, running her fingers through Taehyun's hair. It means they are alive. It means we are here. She looked at her family. The debt that had brought her here was long paid. The fear was a distant memory. You know, Sonia said softly, people say you cannot serve 2 masters. But they never said anything about loving 2 husbands. We are not your masters, Sonia, Jaehyun said, kissing her hand. We are your devotees. And you, Taehyun added, kissing her other hand, are the queen. As the sun set over Seoul, casting long shadows across the grass, Sonia Davis, the girl from Lagos who thought her life was over, realized that her life had actually just begun the moment she met the sun and the moon. And that, my friends, is how the gem of Lagos tamed the twin dragons of Seoul. It turns out sometimes the heart doesn't have to choose. It just has to expand. What did you think of Sonia's choice? Could you handle the fire of Taehyun and the light of Jaehyun at the same time? Or would you have run back to the airport? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. If this story made your heart race, do not leave without hitting that like button and subscribing to Afro-Korean Soul Tales. We have a fresh spicy story brewing for tomorrow that you do not want to miss. Until then, keep your standards high in your romance epic. Bye besties.